Recording in progress.
Good morning, dear Dharma friends. I am that which takes itself to be Robert Beatty. Still, again. Though I must say, this morning, the fact that thoughts think themselves is pretty apparent. February 2nd, 2022. This is a Zoom session of the Portland Insight Meditation Community. I have a really powerful poem for us this morning. I can't figure out how to fix the gender stuff, so please turn on your auto-translator and change the pronouns as you need to or want to. You'll recognize it. All the world is a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Aaron, I'm going to mute you. And then the lover sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon. With spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice, turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion, sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. And as Robert Bly, recently deceased, said, now we have the bones. Let's hear the heart of the poem. All the world is a stage, and all the men and women, and dogs and cats, friends, enemies, are merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one person in their time plays many parts, their acts being 7 ages. At first the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. And then the whining school child with their satchel and shining morning face creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover sighing like furnace with woeful ballad made to their lover's eyebrow. And then the soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so they play their part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. It's a strange journey we're on, my friends, in this educational institution called a human life. Some of us, a very small minority, a tiny minority, have the great good fortune to encounter a spiritual path that really works. I just said them, the way these memories think themselves back to 12-step meetings. It works if you work it. So let's sit, my friends, as humans have done now for at least 2,600 years since the time of the Buddha. Let us sit comfortably upright. And whatever shall we do? Why not do the practice of being alive in the present moment? There's all kinds of gymnastics we can do with the human mind. All kinds of altered states we can cultivate. We can create fantasy images of anything. What if instead we were to practice waking up? It doesn't require going anywhere. It simply requires waking up. And there are some useful strategies. The ones taught by the Buddha are particularly effective. We could sit comfortably upright. And we could choose a primary training object which exists only in the present moment, which might be the breath. And so there is the mystery. It's happened our whole lifetime. And so we tend to not notice, but something very strange is happening. This body is alive. And it breathes in and breathes out. It does it all by itself. And so, somehow or another, we can choose, we can intend to allow awareness to awaken in the sensations of breathing. To climb into the breath as we might a hammock. And of course, there are thoughts. And each thought thinks itself into existence. It's not that I am thinking. It's that thinking happens. Equally mysterious as the existence of the breath is the existence of consciousness, of that which knows the breath. That which knows the breath knows the thoughts. In a certain way, there's nothing to do except be awake. And just as awareness can be awake to thoughts, it can be awake to moods. What is the mood right now? Expansive, contracted, happy, sad, full of faith or full of doubt or somewhere in between. Is it a mind that is colored by desire and wanting and craving, or disliking and wanting not? Is it restless and agitated, or sleepy dull, or is there doubt? The practice is simply to be here. There's no predicting what content will be there. So let us sit silently, participating in the utter mystery, which is a conscious human life. life in its utter mysteriousness sits here. It breathes in and it breathes out, and it knows itself. The mind may be quiet. It might be highly concentrated. It might be noisy. It might be dispersed. There might be a sense of, oh, I'm really getting it, or a sense of, I don't know what I'm doing. There might be the illusion that now I have it under control, or the equal illusion now it's out of control. None of these polarities matter. presence, awakeness, knowing encompasses all of this. Mindfulness has utter acceptance. It simply illuminates what's happening. I'm going to do something unusual this morning for our meditation. Yesterday morning, I buried my dog, Budo. There will be a dogwood tree on his grave within a few weeks. Some years ago, with a man named Sam Forench, who is the Portland Trailblazers photographer and also a master photographer. And I collaborated to create a video in which I read a rendition, an edited rendition of The Great Way, a text by the third Chinese patriarch of Zen. And I want to share this with you this morning in memory of Budo. And so you could sit with your eyes closed. Or you could open your eyes, and it might be wise to do that because there is exquisite imagery here. Sam took Oliver Oregon. So I'm going to try to play it. I hope it works. And Jim, will you tell me if the sound comes through, please?
Okay.
If it doesn't, I may stop to fiddle for a moment. And remember, maintain the meditative presence. Okay.
Just fine.
Have we got sound, Jim? Oh, I can't tell, can I?
Is not difficult for those.
Hang on, I'm going to pause. What's the word, Jim?
There's an echo now.
I'm going to come back. I have to leave this for a moment. I'm sorry for that. Would you nod? Where are you, Jim?
Right
Can't
here.
even find you. Is it good? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
It wasn't right.
Thumbs
no.
down.
It was an echo.
Okay. I'm going to do this rather than fiddle. Let me fix this. What a bummer. But compared to other disappointments of late, it's trivial.
Robert, it sounded fine.
So I invite you to sit quietly with your eyes closed, and I will simply read this exquisite document.
Robert, I think it was okay before
My
you
dogs to go,
before you talked over
poetry.
it.
And please just let these words flow over you,
Can't hear us.
flow into you. I've carried this document on my person for 45 years. My family has the understanding that should I ever be in coma, All they need to do is read this to me. Okay. So no need to watch. The great way is not difficult for those who are not attached to their preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. When the deep meaning of things is not understood, the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. The way is perfect like vast space, where nothing is lacking and nothing is in excess. Indeed, it is due to our choosing to accept or reject that we do not see the true nature of things. Live neither in entanglements of outer things, nor in inner feelings of emptiness. Be serene in the oneness of things, and such erroneous views will disappear by themselves. When you try to stop activity to achieve passivity, your very effort fills you with activity. As long as you remain in one extreme or the other, you will never know oneness. Those who do not live in the single way fail in both activity and passivity, assertion and denial. To deny the reality of things is to miss their reality. To assert the emptiness of things is to miss their reality. The more you talk and think about it, the further astray you wander from the truth. Stop talking and thinking, and there is nothing you will not be able to know. To return to the root is to find the meaning, but to pursue appearances is to miss the source. At the moment of inner enlightenment, there is going beyond appearance and emptiness. The changes that appear to occur in the empty world we call real only because of our ignorance. Do not search for the truth. Only cease to cherish opinions. Do not remain in the dualistic state. Avoid such pursuits carefully. If there is even a trace of this and that, of right and wrong, the mind essence will be lost in confusion. Although all dualities come from the One, do not be attached even to this one. When the mind exists undisturbed in the way, nothing in the world can offend. And when a thing can no longer offend, it ceases to exist in the old way. When no discriminating thoughts arise, the old mind ceases to exist. When thoughts vanish, the thinking subject vanishes. As when the mind vanishes, objects vanish. Things are objects because of the subject mind. The mind, subject, is such because of things, object. Understand the relativity of these two and the basic reality, the unity of emptiness. In this emptiness, the two are indistinguishable, and each contains in itself the whole world. If you do not discriminate between coarse and fine, you will not be tempted to prejudice an opinion. To live in the great way is neither easy nor difficult, but those with limited views are fearful and irresolute. The faster they hurry, the slower they go. And clinging cannot be limited. Even to be attached to the idea of enlightenment is to go astray. Just let things be in their own way, and there will be neither coming nor going. If you wish to move in the one way, do not dislike even the world of senses and ideas. Indeed, to accept them fully is identical with true enlightenment. The wise person strives to no goals, but the foolish person fetters themselves. There is one Dharma, not many. Distinctions arise from the clinging needs of the ignorant to seek mind with the discriminating mind, is the greatest of all mistakes. Rest and unrest derive from illusion. With innate enlightenment, there is no liking or disliking. All dualities come from inference, which is ignorant. They are like dreams or flowers in air, foolish to try to grasp them. Gain and loss, right and wrong, such thoughts must finally be established at once. To come directly into harmony with this reality, just simply say when doubts arise, not to. In this not to, nothing is separate, nothing is excluded, no matter when or where. Enlightenment means entering this truth. And this truth is beyond extension or diminution in time or space. In it, a single thought is 10,000 years. Emptiness here, emptiness there. But the infinite universe stands always before your eyes, infinitely large and infinitely small. No difference, for definitions have vanished, and no boundaries are seen. So too with being and not being. Don't waste time in doubts or arguments that have nothing to do with this. One thing, all things move about and intermingle without distinction. To live in this realization is to be without anxiety about non-perfection. To live in this faith is the road to non-duality. Because the non-dual is one with the trusting mind. Words. The way is beyond language, for in it there is no yesterday, no tomorrow, and no today. All things flow about and intermingle. Please, dear friends, awaken in the body, in its aliveness. Notice the contact with the chair. Notice the aliveness in the hands and the face. Notice what is alive in the eyes. And notice the intention to open the eyes. And then operationalizing that and Notice the miracle. Seeing happens. Seeing. Who could imagine such a thing? How can this amazing complexity actually exist? I, that which I take to be I, have been pretty deeply immersed in grieving the last few hours, a day or so. It was really quite something to dig that hole yesterday. Nice and deep. Oops, oh dear, I'm not going to answer it right now. That's the man coming to do the gutters at PIMC. But he can wait 5 minutes or 10. Part of the process that's unfolding is that word I is so strange. Buddha's been dying for months. Last summer on the Alvord Desert, southeastern Oregon, I let him go for a while. And I thought, he won't go far. He always comes back. And he took off to the north, just back and forth, and walking. And then I'm sure he lost us, and he just kept going. He kept going till he disappeared. And I quickly packed everything up and chased him with our RV and forgot him. But he's been practicing. He's been diminishing. He's been fading away. Quite a lesson. This is not unknown to any of us. We all know that this is what's real. We don't pay much attention, though. So I invite you, if you would like to see the exquisite imagery that goes with that reading, go to robertbeatty.com and scroll down, and you will find it at the very bottom of the website. It's a beautiful thing. Sam went all around the state and did stop action photography. I think that's what it's called. And so you see the reality of things from a very different perspective of exquisite places in Oregon. We had our DEI meeting last night. It was very successful, I think, well attended. And we will move on into the exploration of diversity and belonging at PIMC. Oh, also on the robertbeatty.com, you will see the links for the retreats I have coming up this year, including the one in Germany. And in case any of you don't know this, I will be here till Friday, and then I'm going to be gone. And please do bear with me a moment. I'm going to call Roger because he's trying to get into the center.
Yes, this is Roger.
Hi, Roger. It's Robert.
Robert, you gave me wrong phone. You gave me my own phone number for Jamie yesterday.
Oh, that's bad. Hang on just a second, please. I'm in the middle of a broadcast right now, so I'm going to try to be very brief.
Okay. Well, I need a number.
Yep. 541 980 1234.
9800
541 980 1234.
1234. Okay.
Okay, bye. There. That's a bit what my life has been like for the last 6 months. A lot of endless numbers of questions and so on, getting people into the center. This fellow's coming to fix the gutters in the backside of the building. We're lucky to have him. Oh, no, I'm good. You can hear me? Okay. So I'm going to fall quiet now and invite if there's any sharing you'd like to make, any questions to ask. I'm not sure of my sound. Would someone say something so I can tell?
Good morning, it's Denise.
I can hear you, Denise. Thank you.
Great. Well, I am. My son tested positive for COVID, and he's really kind of sick. And I guess today I'm just sitting with like all of the, as I'm thinking about that, just all of the self-recrimination, like what I should have kept him home or not let him go to school, or what could I have done better? And it's interesting also to be able to sit back a little bit with that and not completely freak out. And so I guess I'm just also really grateful right now that I do have this practice, and that despite my tears, that like that we're okay. So thank you, everyone. And yeah, that's where I'm at today. And with all the other turmoil that I have going on in my life right now, this is just such a gift to have this practice.
Thank you, Denise. I should have taken Budo to the woods more. I should have spent more time with him, etc., etc. I think it's a way that the mind tries to reestablish a fantasy of control, as though maybe. And may your son be well. What is his name?
His name is Cameron.
Cameron. May Cameron be well and have a mild case and develop extraordinary immunity. And may you not get it.
Hi, Robert. It's Dave here.
Hello, Dave. Thank you for staying up so late last night to participate in that meeting.
I did the best I could as long as I could.
You did great. I was impressed.
Uh, I I've been I mean the death of Buddha has got me thinking. There's a poem you read often enough. I can't remember who it was, but it's a Buddhist master or teacher speaking to his students. And they're saying, "Oh, master, what happens when you die?" And he says, or when you leave us, and he says, "Leave me, where would I go?"
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sitting here. I have memories sitting in your office for hourly sessions, walking in, being greeted to raucous warnings from this fierce white creature over there. And things settle down after 2 or 3 minutes, and I sit, and it's clear I'm not going to do anything to harm you, and he seems to be okay with that. And then he curls up in this fuzzy little ball and begins to contemplate his breath while we contemplate ours. And all of my memories of those sessions have this gorgeous, precious white face, whiskered white face, who is protecting you. And then all of these sessions with you in your studio there, and this clear presence of skittering toenails across the floor and the occasional assertive yap running out the door. And I realize this is all happening in my mind, but there's a hole there now, an absence. Where would I go? Well, he's gone as we perceive it. How do you make sense of the "leave you, where would I go" comment? That always haunts me a little bit.
The quote is from Ramana Maharshi. He was dying of throat cancer. One of his students said, "Master, Master, don't leave us." And his reply was, "Leave you? Where could I go?" I'm not sure what to say. Clearly, and I'm so glad I got to bury him. Actually, reminds me of a story. When my father died, it was sudden but not unexpected. It was in Vancouver, BC. He was in a mortuary kind of place. He was going to be cremated, and we were going to leave. And I had a vision or a dream that I was on a wagon train leaving a town, and I had left my father to be buried by strangers. And I realized I can't do this. I have to be there. So I called the mortuary and said, "I want to be present at my father's cremation." And the man said, "Oh, I'm sorry, that's not possible." So I pushed him a little bit, and he continued, "I'm sorry, that's not possible." And so I said, "Okay, then, stop everything you're doing, make up your bill. I'm going to transfer him to a mortuary that will allow me to be present." And he said, "Well, wait, let me talk to someone." And he called back about half an hour later, and it was the one time in my life when I had the perfect Zen reply. He said, "Well, Mr. Beatty, we can make it possible for you to be there, But we cannot be responsible for your mental health if you do. To which I said, I'm 55 years old. You've not been responsible for my mental health this far. Why would you presume to begin? And I got to go to the crematorium, which at that point was in North Vancouver, in Kitsilano. And I think Kitsilano. Anyway, Capilano, by the Capilano Canyon. And it was a 2-retort brick structure, 2 ovens. And I got to be there with the man who did the work, and I got my father's body in a cardboard box, and I got to push the box in and turn on the gas, and I peeked a few times in the little peephole, and then it got to be more than I could handle with my own dad. I got to do the same thing with Ruth Dennison. I got to push her into the crematorium. So they're gone. Budo's gone. And I miss him. I got out of bed and he wasn't there. And his bed wasn't there. And it's been awkward coming down the hall toward the kitchen and the back door. He hasn't been able to hear, and he keeps getting in the way. He kept getting in the way, past tense now. So there's all these things. I've been really observing his little rituals. And so there's that. Those missings are not emotional. It's just, it's an absence, it's an absence, it's an absence, it's an absence. And they will fade away, I'm sure. But is Budo gone? Is that in my heart? Which was Budo. Is that gone? I don't think so. I think his greatest gift to me, which is not uncommon when people die if we'll allow it in, his greatest gift to me is his death. Because it's strange. It's I don't have words for it, but he didn't go anywhere. His body did. His physical presence did. But so, and I'm in the middle of something pretty deep and big for myself here. I think this is really changing me. A lot of stuff I've been worrying about and taking seriously just seems silly to me right now. The great way is not difficult for those who are not overly attached to their preferences. So I'll let you know. But actually, I was looking for poems last night before our DEI meeting, and I edit out poems that have the word God in them because people so profoundly misunderstand, and so many people have all kinds of trauma around religions with some kind of, usually a male dominating God. Where is it? This is from Hafiz, Sufi mystic. I knew we would be friends, and I offered this to Budo and to you. As soon as you opened your mouth and I heard your soft sounds, I knew we would be friends, capitalized friends. The first time, dear pilgrim, I heard you laugh, I knew it would not take me long to turn you back into God. As soon as you opened your mouth and I heard your soft sounds, I knew we would be friends. The first time, dear pilgrim, I heard you laugh. The first time, dear Buddha, I heard you bark. I knew it would not take me long to turn you back into God. And isn't that our task with each other? Isn't that why we learn to forgive and why we really practice to love ourselves and forgive ourselves? There's one repetitive thought that's been very, I've said it to, I guess, everybody I've been around in the last few days. This being alive is the weirdest possible thing. A sperm, I've told this story on retreat, I always tell this story. A sperm and an egg come together in optimal circumstances. The egg somehow implants itself, usually, in the proper place in the uterus, or if it doesn't, then we try again. There's an agony we don't often talk about for the people who are trying to get pregnant and don't. It's awful. We had a long run of that in our family. But that happens, and then we get born, and then we're a little baby, and someone takes care of us, and then we go through somebody training, and we go to school, and we have bullies, or we are bullies, and we learn to read or not, and we have difficulties and blessings, and we're in the popular crowd or not, and it goes on and on and on, and we maybe are successful, we go to college, we become an important person or not, or we're a child and we're sent off to war, or we fall into one side of a political craziness or another, and then we hate the other side, and this all happens, and then we get older and we get more infirm and we start having problems, and maybe we wind up in a memory care unit. But then in the end, and it's so utterly weird, and then we disappear. What is that? And the only sensible thing that's clearing for me is to dive more deeply into spiritual practice, to come to understand it from the inside. Sabe Sankara Anicca, said the Buddha, all conditioned things are impermanent. And the Zen people talk about, I want to die before I die. I want to wake up. I want to become more loving. I want to. It's the only sensible thing. But what a strange thing. I mean, what the hell are you doing here? How did you get here? Who are you? What a mystery, huh? And then we meet a new lover in the form of a white ball of fluff. Then we get to dance for, in his case, 18 years. Someone pointed out, it's longer than my longest marriage by a year. It's my longest relationship, except with myself. That's not true. I was with Ruth Dennison for 42 years. But then she disappeared. How utterly weird. So,
Robert, could you post that Hafiz poem someplace? That's a keeper.
why don't I put it in the chat right now, so I don't have another thing to do today. Copy. Coming to the chat. Coming to a chat near you. Everyone in meeting. Here we go. Well, I want to read you another Hafiz poem. When Jennifer and I got married a decade or so ago, we worked on our ceremony together. It was a long ceremony, the longest ceremony ever. Ruth Dennison got the microphone, and then it took over half an hour to get the microphone back from her. Michael Shohan sang beautifully for us. And at the end of the ceremony part, Jennifer, the only part she didn't know was coming in the ceremony was this poem. And I dropped to my knees and said this to her. It happens all the time in heaven. And someday it will begin to happen again on earth. That people who give each other light often will get down on their knees and with tears in their eyes will sincerely speak, saying, "My dear, how can I be more loving to you? How can I be more kind?" Oh, isn't that what it would make sense to do to every person we know? It happens all the time in heaven, and someday it will begin to happen again on earth. That people who give each other light will often get down on their knees, and with tears in their eyes will sincerely speak, saying, "My dear, how can I be more loving to you? How can I be more kind?" I'll put that in the chat too. Whew. Paste. There it is. It worked. Well, I'm not leaving much room for anybody to share, am I?
Morning, Robert. It's David.
Hello, David. Be well, be well, be well.
Not yet, but yes, that's coming up, but not quite yet. So I just wanted to share something about that I heard. I find the Dharma sometimes in other sources, not always in Buddhist books. So there was a comedy bit from George Carlin. Remember George Carlin?
Yeah.
So he said that the challenge with life is that it goes in the wrong direction. So his proposal is this. You die first and you get it over with. And then you go into an old folks home. You spend your time there until you're too young, so they kick you out. You work for 40 years, so you can enjoy your money in your youth. Then you go into high school, you have fun with your friends, you go on your first date, you have your first romances. You become a child again, you play in the field, you go to school, you get younger and younger. Eventually you become a baby lying in a cradle. You go back into the womb and you spend your last 9 months on earth floating in amniotic bliss and until finally, poof, you disappear in an orgasm. So another perspective. Thank you.
You know, that kind of image is beautifully written by Günter Grass. In what book was that? Günter Grass. The one where the kid would scream and shatter all the windows.
Was it the Tin Drum?
It was the Tin Drum, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And it starts with the flames where bombs have destroyed a city, and the flames are all very compassionately sucked back into these canisters that are then pulled back up and pulled up into airplanes, and then and in the end, all these harmful substances are very carefully placed back into the ground where they won't harm anybody again. We actually have wars with each other. I mean, how utterly strange. All the world's a stage. I mean, that boy, wasn't Shakespeare prescient and brilliant? It shows that people wake up not just through Buddhism, obviously.
Hi, Robert and Sangha.
Hello,
Everything's
Eileen.
been very meaningful. The thought that struck me with the second poem is I remember so deeply, and maybe it's because I've moved so often and so it's never left me, that when you're a child, and especially around 10, that's how I remember it, I would meet somebody and it would, even if it wasn't verbalized, it would be, oh, exactly this, as soon as you heard them laugh and speak. Can we be friends? We're friends. And sometimes I lament that that's in this world and at my age, that's really how I still feel. And I felt that in meeting somebody right from the Sangha in person. And it doesn't seem like the world still operates that way. But isn't that what Robert was saying? Was it Robert who talked about, what's his name, the comedian? Isn't that what we go back to? And that seems to fit with the first poem about how can I love you more? How can I, whatever the other line was, which in our society that's handed down, and I look at myself, hasn't it been much of the time in adult relationships? How can you love me? How can you love me more? How can you show more kindness? So those are my thoughts. And I'm glad that I got to meet for a second Budo, because he was a beautiful dog. And the cliche about dog spelled backwards is God. I know it's a cliche, but I like it. So, and I'm just really sorry for your loss, but he's not gone because he's in your heart. And that's really true. And I keep saying all these cliches, but I believe they're true.
Maybe that's why they're cliches.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
You know where the term cliche comes from?
No.
With the early printing presses, there were trays, and you would reach over and you'd pick letters and put them in the tray, and then they would somehow be clamped, and then you could print with that. And there were certain phrases that were used again and again, and so they were put in a device called a cliché. They were held together, and they were then used. You didn't have to create it every letter at a time. It's like
Copy and paste.
Yeah. Back when I used to deal with insurance companies, and one had to create these absolutely bullshit reports on each session. You had to write something, and every therapist knows that there's a lot of fantasy that goes on because you want the person to get their insurance benefits and so on. But I would have these boilerplate paragraphs, and I'd type in a funny little word, and Microsoft Word would fill that in. And so those were cliches. That's where it came from. So yes, they're there because they're true. Some of them anyway. And in terms of you're saying this doesn't happen in the world anymore, you said this morning, it happens in you all the time. It still happens in the world. You're it. We're it.
I did not mean that it doesn't happen in the world, because if it didn't happen, I don't think I'd have any friends again, moving to new places and keeping the old friends. But it, I don't know if people just in life, people get busy with their own close family and having lived in a community all their lives or much of their lives, and also develops some skepticism from experiences.
Sure.
And the reason I say it's childlike is there's that part of me that just keeps going to it automatically. And, you know, there's sometimes hurt that comes out of it, but it's a wonderful feeling. It's great. Maybe that's why I continue to do it. It's just that knowing when you hear. A lot of times it works.
There is a very lovely place in southeast Portland around 66th and Duke where friendships like that happen all the time. And I invite you sometime at the end of February or March sometime. Let's get together and be friends. And as an extension, for those of you that are at a distance, let's get together here and be friends. Come on retreat, and those are really hotbeds of friendship. When we get beneath the noise of the mind, and of course one loves the other person because they're one. Well, it's 25 after 8. I have a pretty big day today. Everything I put off from yesterday. That's not true. Some things I canceled yesterday I won't put on my schedule again. So any last something? Please speak if you're sitting with something that would be really good to get out.
Good morning, Robert. Oh, go ahead, Kat.
I'll be super quick, Joe. Eileen, I just wanted to offer you a little bit of reassurance that I go up to people in the fucking grocery store and be like, you know what? I really like your hat. Should we be friends? Like, it is something that ridiculous people still do. What it involves is less, for me, a lack of cynicism and more completely rejecting the fear of rejection. Like, that if someone is to say, no, you're crazy, and I think we should call the cops, that I gently back away and move on with my life and just be okay with the fact that not everyone is going to want to be friends. But, I mean, I'm looking at Robert Birch because I absolutely did that to Robert Birch. I absolutely went to Robert Birch and said, I'm pretty confident we should be friends. So, and we are, and it worked out really beautifully. And now we're co-facilitating our Be Queer Now group starting February 13th at 6:30. I hope you're all there. Anyway, thank you.
Joe, did you want to say something?
Yes, Robert. I've had to dig a lot of holes in my life for dear friends that were with me for short or long time. I think to dig that hole has always been a mindful experience for me, even before I knew what mindfulness was. Mm-hmm. And with each shovelful, you remember, and you have gratitude, and you do the we should have done more. But it is a beautiful thing to dig that hole and to share those memories and to reflect. And I'm glad you got to dig a hole for Buddha.
Me too.
It was a beautiful thing that you could do.
Yep.
And I really appreciate you sharing that and the pictures with the flowers and everything. Mm-hmm. That was a wonderful send-off, I'm sure.
Yeah. I know where he is. He's right over there. His body's right over there.
Yep.
I know. It's very comforting to know.
There's a poem in there somewhere. I'll share it with you one day.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Well, friends, I just realized I need to call Standard TV and Appliance to tell them that I will be there to receive the new used oven. We're gonna have an oven in PIMC Kitchen that actually has a handle that you can open the door with. Imagine that. It's revolutionary. So let us sing our way home, okay? May all beings receive all blessings. May all beings receive all. What an amazing wish. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, dear friends. Have a lovely, one-of-a-kind day. And
Thank you, Robert.
Peace.
Thank you,
Let's go,
David.
Dave.
Thank you, Had. Thank you, Had, C. Wilmer. And everyone, be well,
well,
and
be
what
There
the
it
hey,
is.
one more be well, because you're all working.
Oh, God. So good.